Top 10 Most Interesting Cases on Judge Faith. Faith Jenkins' syndicated reality court show, Judge Faith, has helped solve numerous conflicts between people and families. Let's take a look at some of the most interesting cases on Judge Faith. We're counting down the top 10 Judge Faith cases, so watch till the end. But before we begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon to receive updates for all of our future videos. And now, let's get the party started. 10. The Rapper Copy. On this episode, Yung Joc, a rapper who had been nominated for the Grammys, came to seek help from Judge Faith. He was suing his manager and longtime friend, Polo Hammonds, for defamation and booking deposit. Polo, on the other hand, was countersuing Joc for owing him money from a game of spades. Yung Joc tells Judge Faith how he had met Polo in 2006, and seeing the way Polo handled him and his work, Joc had decided to give Polo a shot at being his manager. However, Polo's carelessness had caused him defamation because he had informed Joc of a performance last minute, due to which Joc reached the auditorium an hour late. Moreover, Polo had pocketed the money used for booking Joc's performance, due to which Joc had no option but to show up for the performance. The judge also learned that Polo had used a look-alike who was an intern to cover for him till he was at the event. The verdict of the case was that Polo had to pay up the extra $5,000 he had pocketed from his employer. Up next, would you go to the extent of slapping someone because they asked you to repay the money you owe them? Find out in this next story. 9. The Slap Happy Loan. On this episode, the guest Kenya Rippey was suing her co-worker Ashley Williams for smacking her on the face when she asked for a repayment of a $500 loan which was overdue, and Ashley was countersuing Rippey for $850 of lost wages. Kenya starts by telling Judge Faith how Ashley started working at a healthcare facility with her in December. She told the judge how she had offered to help Ashley when she came to know about her accident, and how Ashley had told her that she needed financial help. The judge then learned that Ashley had no car insurance and that her charges for getting the damages repaired were around $1,000. Kenya then presented the judge with an agreement they had written where Ashley was supposed to pay her back by August when she had to buy her books. But as the date rolled by, Ashley stopped responding to Rippey, and after many trips to her house, many unread messages, and unreceived phone calls, Rippey went to talk to Ashley on her day off, but Ashley ended up slapping her. After Judge Faith heard both sides, she gave the final decision where Ashley had to pay Rippey $500 back, and her countersue was dismissed because even though she had been fired for acting out, Rippey was right to have helped a friend in a time of need, and she should have been compensated. Up next, regardless of what caused an accident, the after effects of it need to be accounted for. Watch out to find out more. 8. Don't rush, kid. Douglas and Aaron had come to the show to seek Judge Faith's help because they were suing David and Ophelia for $4,500 as damages to their property and vehicle. Douglas starts by telling the judge that at the night of the accident, they had received many messages from their neighbors about the accident in their front yard, but since they had slept through them, when they finally rushed out, it was hours past the accident and there was no one around. Douglas found a card of a cop and called them soon after, hence they were able to ID David and Ophelia. David narrated how he had been speeding because he was angry and the block was quite dark. He tried saving the life of a late-night jogger who was out on the road, and since his car brakes weren't that well, he crashed into Aaron's Volvo and sent it 7 feet away, hitting the wall. David, on talking with the judge, it was quite clear that it wasn't his fault because he was trying to save a life. Although the accident wasn't intentional, it did end up causing damages for Aaron and Douglas, so in the end, Judge Jenkins dismissed the case, but not before deciding that an amount of $3,500 was to be paid by David to Douglas. The next case is a perfect example of why you should never irritate the judge. 7. Stay in your parking space. The plaintiffs in this episode, Lauren and Juan, are suing their neighbor Manuel for $1,588 for damages to their motorcycle and lost wages. Manuel, in return, is suing Lauren and Juan for $1,170 in terms of lost wages, claiming that he had not hit their motorcycle. Juan starts by telling the judge that he had been working on his motorbike's mirror parked outside across the road from his house when suddenly Manuel showed up with his van and said that Juan has to move his bike in a rather rude tone. Juan told him that he did not intend to move the bike, to which Manuel said that he knew Juan's house, where he parked his red truck, and his wife. This seemed like a threat to Juan since he had never met Manuel. Juan told the judge next that Manuel had paid no heed to him and had started parking his van in the same spot. Manuel initially had hit Juan's motorcycle, and Juan had recorded the entire scenario on his phone. And when he asked Manuel for his insurance, Manuel ignored him and walked off. Manuel, in his turn, told the judge how his friend and client was irritated because because the couple would often park their vehicles in front of her house and how they would block the entire area. He also mentioned how he had one time previously asked Juan to park the bike elsewhere. The interesting part in this case was that Manuel kept interrupting Juan, which irritated the judge so much that she had the man escorted out of the courtroom and assure the couple by ruling the decision in their favor. One of the most interesting parts of the next case is the plaintiff's way of carrying himself. Stay tuned to find out. 6. Where's my rent? The plaintiff, Dean Drummer, in this episode was suing his tenant, Mickey, for property damage, stolen property, and not paying the rent. Mickey, in return, said that her former landlord was rude, and she was countersuing him for defamation, pain, and trouble. Dean started off talking to Jenkins about how he had let Mickey move into his apartment because she had given him a sob story of how she had lost everything she possessed to an electrical fire in her previous apartment. At the time of giving her the keys, Dean did not draw up a lease to be signed by him, and she moved in with her husband. Mickey had stayed at this apartment for a week, and there was no rent amount decided. In her defense, Mickey said that the two had concluded that if she redid the kitchen, her rent till August would be taken care of. Next, Dean told the judge how Mickey tried continuing to live rent-free by feeding from a lie that her father had died and she was an orphan when it was her husband's father. Shortly, the judge was presented with text messages exchanged between the two in which it was clear how Mickey had been calling Dean names and how she was trying to buy more time before signing the lease. The initial verdict was then announced by Jenkins, which ruled in the plaintiff's favor by compensation of $2,206 for the damages suffered. Up next, there's nothing worse than friends turned foes. 5. BFF Betrayal. The plaintiff in this episode, Sherry, was suing her former best friend, Alicia, for $3,100 for unpaid rent and the cost of her dog. Alicia, in turn, was suing Cherry for $500 for the value of her clothes and jewelry. Cherry started off by telling the judge how Alicia had suffered due to the loss of all her possessions in a house fire and how she had some space in her attic where she offered Alicia to put up for some time. Cherry considered Alicia a good friend of hers and gave her 2 months of rent-free space, after which she expected Alicia to pay up. Next, Judge asked Alicia for her part of the story, where she told Jenkins that she was angry because Cherry never mentioned any money deal to her, but went around spreading the word that Alicia was living rent-free and that she owed her money. Next, Cherry also mentioned how Alicia had run over her dog, Lucky, in their driveway while she was in the shower. But Alicia gave a rather different account, where she said that she had no clue that Lucky was out in the driveway and that Cherry was not in the shower but on her front porch. After a lot of drama, the verdict ruled in favor of the plaintiff, and Cherry received a decision of being compensated for $3,000 for damages suffered. Up next, would you pay rent to your baby sister if you were living in her house? Well, you'd have to if you were irresponsible and damaged her car. 4. Oh brother. The plaintiff in this episode, Nita, was suing her brother Dante for $2,902 for not having paid rent and irresponsibly crashing her car. Dante, in turn, is countersuing for $500 for emotional distress, saying that Nita knew his position and still pressured him to pay. Nita starts by telling the judge how irresponsible her brother was because he had 6 children from 4 different women, to which Dante claimed that he only had 4 children because he had the DNA test done for only 4 of them. He was also paying child support money for only 4 of them as well. The other 2 were not his. Nita tells the judge that her brother initially had to face a time where he had lost his job and was living in his car. She had a rental property and she offered it to him at this point for a rent of $650 per month. At this, Dante told the judge that he often helped Nita around with stuff and thus was unaware that he had to pay, since her place was already taken care of. Nita went on to tell the judge how Dante got involved in a high-speed chase and wrecked her car. This was one messy case, and finally, in the end, the judge ruled in the plaintiff's favor, and Dante had to pay $2,902 for the damages suffered. Up next, a casual friendship gone horribly wrong. 3. The school friends. LaTanya, the plaintiff in this episode, is suing her friend David for the return of the money she had lent to him, which was initially for getting her new house appliances. LaTanya starts by telling Faith that she wanted to get work done at her place, but the landscaper did not respect her, and so she looked up to her school friend David. David then told the judge how she had approached him and they sat drinking when she pulled out $2,000 and gave the money to him to get his car fixed. The next day, the two had gone to the bank where she again gave David $2,000, which according to him was done because she wanted sexual favors from him. But according to LaTanya, the money was to be handed to the landscaper with whom David was dealing with personally. Next, David presented the text messages exchanged between the two to the judge, who, on reading them, asked LaTanya why she had not mentioned her money in any of the texts and why she had just asked where he was or why he was not showing up. In the end, the judge did rule out the decision in the plaintiff's favor for the compensation of $1,800, which LaTanya had claimed David had stolen from her. Up next, you should always hold your car's door or else you could get in trouble. Watch what's up next. 2. Watch the door. The plaintiff, Danielle, was suing Tiffany for having opened the car door, which slammed right into another vehicle, and wants reimbursement for the damages done. Tiffany is claiming that the door was pushed due to a gust of wind and that it was not her fault. The judge learned that Danielle and Tiffany, who knew each other, had gotten off their shift and went to Danielle's truck. There was a brand new vehicle parked right next to her truck, and according to Danielle, Tiffany opened the truck's door in a way that it hit the vehicle and caused a dent. Since the truck was Danielle's, she had to pay damages to the owner of that vehicle, which should now be reimbursed. When her turn came, Tiffany told the judge that it wasn't her fault because it was a windy day and a gust of wind was what pushed the door so far as to hit the other vehicle. However, the truth of the matter was that Danielle had to face a lot of drama at her workplace because of the incident. The judge ruled in favor of Danielle, and Tiffany was asked to pay $590 as the damages suffered to be paid up. And finally, a rather peculiar case involving baby birds.
I saved the best for last, but first I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. So if you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it. It really works.
1. Give me my baby bird. The plaintiff, Amy, in this episode, was suing Lori for not giving her the pair of baby birds as she had promised. Lori, on the other hand, claims that she does not owe Amy any money since she had offered her the birds twice and Amy had turned down the offer. Amy started by telling the judge that she had known Lori because she had been a teacher with Amy's daughter at school, where Amy came to inform the students about the various exotic birds. Lori said that in place of working at her place when she was sick, Amy had offered them an African ringneck apart from other various birds. Then the judge came to the major problem, which was that according to Amy, she had been promised the baby bird, but Lori highlighted that Amy instead wanted a female baby bird, and the pair had given out a male bird, which Amy referred to as being wild. Lori next presented text messages exchanged between Amy and her, which indicated that Lori had reached out to Amy twice regarding the baby birds, but she had turned down the offer both the times. The judge was quite easily convinced by now that it was the plaintiff at fault, and the decision was ruled in favor of the defendant. Which of these cases was the most interesting according to you? Do let us know in the comments section below. Till next time, we'll see ya. Thanks for watching, and have an excellent day.